Hello party people, and welcome back to my channel. So today is a video that I have set up in regards to men. A lot of the advice applies to women too, but it's particularly for young men, and it's about sex tips. Now, what direction am I going to take that sex tips? I'm going to take it in the direction of how to keep yourself safe, because a lot of the things revolving around sex are not safe. We may think it's something casual, and it's not. And here's some of the advice that I'm going to give to you guys about my opinions on things. Number one thing that you need to be aware of is always be careful who you get naked with. What do I mean by that? I mean that there are a lot of very dangerous people out there. There are people who, number one, have diseases. If you're not regularly getting tested, if you're out there doing a bunch of wild things, then you're going to put yourself in jeopardy of getting an STD. And I don't care what protection you think you're using. I don't care if you wear condoms. I do not care. What I know is that you are still risking getting an STD if you are sexually active with someone who has an STD. You are not going to know the difference. So get tested regularly. Anytime you have a new partner, you should get tested, probably before you go about doing that. Go get tested together. Oh no, it's awkward. We can't go get tested together. That's too what? Intimate? Yeah. So if you're not comfortable enough to ask someone if they've been tested, if you're not comfortable enough to share test results with someone, you're probably not ready to have sex with them. Just my opinion. Be smart. Be smart about the way you go about things. You got to know other things about the person that you're going to be having intercourse with. Are you okay with their stance on abortion? Now, as a young man, you have two things that are going to happen if you got pregnant with a woman. Number one is you're going to get her pregnant and you're going to have to raise the baby. That's the risk that you're taking. So do you really want that woman that's your sex partner? Do you want her to be the mother of your children? Because that's the magnitude of what you're doing. You got to pay attention to that. You got to know that if you have sex with a woman who you just want for her body, what does her mind have to offer? What does her spirit have to offer? Because your kids are going to be raised by that woman. So you better be smart. You better choose wisely. And you better understand that, let's just say that they're pro-abortion and you have a child with them and they take that baby, and you cannot stop them from doing this. Under the laws, you have no say over what they do with their body in many states. And they're going to go ahead and have an abortion. And your baby is going to get ripped apart and thrown in a garbage can. Now, this isn't an abortion topic, but just think about your stance on abortion. If you're the kind of person who's anti-abortion and you're like, oh, I'll raise the baby. She doesn't want to go through the pregnancy. She doesn't have to. You have to understand the risk that you're taking with someone like that. Do you want your baby aborted? And if you don't want your baby, let's say you are the type of guy who wants your baby aborted. Let's just say that you got her pregnant. You don't want to be accountable to the responsibility that you put out there. Then maybe you want her to get an abortion. She doesn't want to. Now you're on the hook for child support for years, but not just that, because fatherhood is much more than a financial contribution. Now you have to decide what kind of man you're going to be as a father. Are you going to abandon your child? Or are you going to co-parent with someone who you don't really love? Are you going to make your life much more complicated? Are you going to financially take on the burden of child support? Because no matter what, you're stuck with that. And all this because you wanted to get a little funky with the wrong person. You got to be wise, because there's nothing casual about casual sex. Feelings are involved. Whether your feelings are involved or not, a lot of people say that guys don't get affected by casual sex the same way women do. I don't know about that. Whether it's true or not, men may have an easier time detaching, or maybe not. Either way, it messes with our emotions. And if it doesn't mess with our emotions, it messes with the other person's emotions. What message are you sending to people, the people that you're around? Are you sending the message that you love them? Because sex is supposed to be reserved for someone that you love. In fact, it'd be best if it's someone that you love and you're long-term committed to them, and you would have a baby with them, if you could. You wouldn't have a problem. If you're with someone and you're like, I don't think I would want to have a child with them, you should not be having sex, and you should probably not be with them. You gotta play the long game, and you can't just worry about what you want in that moment, because you're gonna suffer because of that. Um, the biggest thing is knowing your risks and accepting your consequences. You may think that you want to be sexually active with someone. Maybe it's your girlfriend. Maybe it's a long-term commitment partner. Um, but there are risks no matter what you're doing. There are risks that you're taking. The risk of pregnancy, the risk of sexually transmitted diseases, the risk of a broken heart that's made even worse by the pair bonding effects in your brain. You can tell me all you want about that, but psychologically speaking, physiologically, in our brains, we are hardwired to the person that we're with. And if you're with sexually, and if you're not careful with that, like, I mean, let's just say that you're not. Let's just say that you're not worried about the pain and suffering that you cause the other person, or maybe you're not getting attached to them in the first place. That may be an indicator that you've already devalued sex, and now you're not going to have a relationship on that level. Another tip, 100% effective use. When they say that a condom works, 88% of the time, let's just say it's 88% of the time. Number one, you should be aware that that means that 12 out of 100 times that you're using that, you're not going to be able to keep your baby, or you're not going to be able to prevent a pregnancy or an STD. Because if a condom doesn't work for a pregnancy, does it work for an STD? I don't know. Probably not, because that's not how condoms work, dog. If you don't know how a condom works, you got to figure that out, because it's not going to protect you. What's going to protect you is abstinence. But if you don't subscribe or ascribe to abstinence, then you got to figure out how condoms work. You got to figure out how birth control works. But let's just say that you use a condom and you use it almost every time. That's not enough. Because if you don't use it every time, if you say, oh, it feels too good, I got to keep going, I don't want to pull out, whatever your method is, and don't use the pull-out method. Come on, guys. That is literally not going to work. But let's just say that you do it every single time. You're always wearing the condom. You're always pulling out. That is the only way that effective use rate of 88% or 90% or 75%, you have to do it every time. Those statistics shoot way down if you decide that one day you're not going to wear the condom. You're not going to do what you got to do. And now you're facing very bad consequences because of those actions. Another thing that you got to be aware of is never trust the woman's contraception. A woman's contraception does not protect you. You have to assume that a woman's contraception, her condoms, her birth control, you got to assume that she didn't take her birth control. You got to assume that there's a hole in the condom. You don't know how she stored the condom. You don't know if she poked a hole in the condom. Which, by the way, if it's the kind of person that would poke a hole in a condom, how are you going to know? Because all you care about them for is their body. If that's the situation that you put yourself in, you're going to be screwed when you find out that she baby trapped you. Or maybe she accidentally stored the condom wrong and it was in the heat too long and it broke. Or she opened it with her fingers and it ripped, and now you got a baby. Now you got a baby that hopefully you'll love. Hopefully you'll love that child because it's your child. But it's going to be much harder to love that child when you're not with the mother, because all you wanted the mother for was for her body. And that's not a great way to explain to your children what had happened. Last thing, I guess we should talk about consent. You got to obey consent laws. You got to make sure that you verify the age of the person that you're with. If you are over the age of 18 and there's even a slight question, unless she's 35 years old and looks 35, you got to make sure that you know how old the person that you're having sex with is. You will go to prison for statutory rape, or you will get a lawsuit, or your reputation will get damaged, or you will end up on a sex offender registry because you didn't make good decisions with with the age of the person that you weren't, or that you were sexually active with. Don't leave it in doubt. Josh Giddey, the pro basketball player, he was well, I don't know. He's not in jail, so I think it was an accident. He didn't know that he was with someone who was underage. She knew, but, she doesn't have to tell him the truth. She just wants to get with the basketball player. Again, I don't know much about the details. Forget about it. But what I'm saying is your life could be greatly affected by those kind of events taking place. And you can't say it's a false accusation, Because statutory rape, you don't have to know that someone's lying to you. You don't have to know. Like, they could tell you, like, even if you don't know that they're lying to you, you still can get charges. You need to make sure that you're never having sex when you're drunk or when they're drunk. Do not be drinking alcohol. But if you decide to drink alcohol, you better make damn sure it doesn't happen while you're having sexual intercourse. I don't care what you think about the culture, hookup culture. You got to do it when you're sober, if you're going to do it at all, because you cannot afford to make a decision that's going to put you away for the rest of your life. And guess what? They don't like sex offenders in prison. So don't be sent to prison as a sex offender, assuming that you're going to make it out okay, because your life will be forever changed by even a false accusation, which we will talk about false accusations in other videos. Anyway, there you go. That's a little pieces of advice that I think are important. Feel free to ask questions in the comments or leave your comments down below. If I was too harsh, that's fine. You could tell me, but I think that is just me as a big brother looking out for you guys, because I have not been through these experiences. Fortunately, I don't go around randomly having sexual encounters. The fact of the matter is, it's because of these reasons. I mean, I might be as susceptible to issues as you guys would be if I didn't know the dangerous effects, if I didn't hear all the bad stories and all the horror stories of what men have gone through. So I really ask you guys to make good decisions and do the right things, because your life's on the line, you know. Not in like some kind of scary way, but your life is on the line, and the people you love are counting on you to make good decisions. And that is a great blessing. And I appreciate you guys watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day.